heading over to Atlantic Canada now, where it's been 18 days since Hurricane Fiona struck. In P.E.I, more than 3,000 homes and businesses are still without power.
I think it's ridiculous. There's no excuse for it as far as I'm concerned.
I liken it to a camping trip gone bad, essentially. No flushing toilets, boring everybody's shower that is willing to give it to you.
Power restoration has slowed since the weekend. Crews are working on some of the more isolated and complicated repairs. Some residents are being warned, though, that the lights might not even turn back on until Friday. Dennis King is the Premier of P.E.I. He's in Charlottetown. Hi, Premier King. Good to have you on our program, as always.
Oh, great to be back with you, Vashi.
I do appreciate you making the time. My understanding, and you can correct this number if a correction is due, but that there are still 3,000 people on P.E.I. or in P.E.I. who 18 days in still don't have power. Is that accurate?
That's about the latest numbers that we have. It was 6,000 2 days ago. It's whittling down, but still 18 days in, that's a big number and a long time for too many islanders to be without power.
Yeah, I think a lot of Canadians are watching and listening to that number and thinking, oh my goodness, 18 days without power. That, as you put it, that is a really long time. What's going on? What's behind that?
Well, I think it's just the sheer magnitude of the damage caused by the biggest hurricane to ever hit the country and for sure our province. It's just the damage, the mess that is out there. It's such a tangled web that takes a long time to sort of untangle and get everybody reconnected. It's painstaking work. It takes a lot of time. We have over 250 crews working pretty well around the clock. It's just the biggest endeavor we've ever had to undertake, and it's taken a long time. And that's but the best I can explain it to your viewers across the country.
Do you need more help? Should there be, for example, more military members there helping restore power? Is that something you've asked for? Could you have asked for it earlier?
Well, I mean, I think we had the military here a couple of days in, so I don't know how much faster we could have had it here. I really think we're down to that last, the last 6,000 or 8,000. We knew this from Maritime Electric a number of days ago. These are going to be the ones where you don't see 2,000 clicked on with one move. This is now you're down to 2 and 3 or 4 or 5 pockets at a time, and it's down to the painstaking work. But I say we have more crews even today have joined. We have as many as we need. It's just it's taken some time, and but as I say, that's a long time to go without power, and the mornings here are starting to get cool, and it's something that I hope we can remedy and fix here right away.
Let me ask you more about that point, because if you're saying that these last ones are not, you flick something and 2,000 people get back online, that in fact it's like pockets of 2, 3, 4 people, how much longer could some of these people in that group of 3,000 be waiting?
Well, I think the utility has said that hopefully by the week's end that the vast majority will be on, and we have no reason to doubt that number. But if you happen to be within that last number, it's you can imagine how frustrating that is and how long it's been. If you're fortunate enough to have a generator, maybe you've been burning fuel, but that's cost you $30 and $40 a day. If you don't have a generator, you've been living in the dark for 18 days, and that takes a toll on your mental health and everything else. So it's there's no simple solutions here that I can offer other than we have as many people as we have working on it to try to get through it as fast as we can, but it can't be fast enough. Premier,
speaking of a solution that doesn't appear too simple, we have been hearing from a lot of people on the island who wanted to access some of the relief that you promised, that is going through the Red Cross, being distributed through the Red Cross. They've been in line, I'm sure you've seen the tweets from some of them too, they've been in line for more than 3 hours this morning, lined up around the block because they're being asked to validate their identification, for example, and it's clearly not an easy process. Are you going to rectify that in some way? I mean, I just can imagine 18 days without power, standing in line for more than 3 hours to get $250 that you promised them, and having to find your ID and show up there with it. I mean, it just seems more complicated than necessary.
Yeah, I mean, we've had by this morning somewhere in the vicinity of 30,000 islanders who have received payment. For many and most, it has been pretty efficient for the most part. There has been some challenges here with having to verify your identity. I mean, we do have to have some checks and balances in place. Whenever you're dispersing public funds, we have to be accountable. We're trying to work with the Red Cross to see if we can help from a government perspective to verify an address or a person or anything like that. But it's it hasn't been perfect, but it's compared to what other provinces have seen in terms of money going out the door, we're a little bit further advanced than that, but it's certainly not without its headaches and problems, that's for sure.
Let me be blunt, Premier. Is 3 hours, waiting more than 3 hours in line for that help that is pretty desperately needed, acceptable to you?
Listen, if I could put the money in their pocket 5 seconds after they apply, that's what I would want to do. That's what I would hope to do. But sometimes these things aren't just as simple as that. As I say, 30,000 people have gotten the money, which is pretty amazing when you look at how long it takes to set up some of these programs. But, they're waiting too long, that's for sure. And they say we're going to try to do everything we can to help, but it's just some of the realities we face here right now.
Specifically, though, what might you be able to do? And I take your point that 30,000 people have received money, and certainly that's a big number. But is there a way to go around the system that the Red Cross has set up? Is there a faster way to get money to people? I'm sure you have a system. The government must have addresses for people stored somewhere or some way of validating identification. There's got to be something, right?
Yeah, well, certainly, anyone that we can help validate if they're on our database in terms of whether they might be a social assistance client or seniors or someone that we would do regular business with. It's a little bit more complicated when CRA does a lot of the taxation stuff now for all of the provinces, so they hold the bulk of the data. It's a little bit harder to get from there, but anything that we can do in that regard to help, we will do, and we have offered to do. We've a good partner in the Red Cross there. It's just taking a little bit more time, but I'm confident we'll get through the bulk of it here in the early part of this week, and we'll get that money flowing, and we'll continue to roll out some programs in the days ahead to help those who need it.
Before I let you go, Premier, I do want to also ask you about this critical infrastructure list. My colleague Carrie Campbell has done some reporting on the fact that it took about 12 days to get all of the province's long-term care and seniors' homes back up and running. And I think, we've heard from a lot of viewers who that is pretty upsetting to them, right? The idea of the elderly, in one case, one of the private homes, the people with disabilities, both mental and physical, not having power for nearly 2 weeks. What is the disconnect between the list that your government has come up with, which these homes are all on, and the fact that it took the power company that long to actually restore power to them? I understand that there are, logistical things that the power company is coming up with, but if the government can't say, hey, these places which house our most vulnerable citizens need power first, and action therefore be taken, that's a big problem, I would think.
Look, Vashti, there's been no shortage of challenges and problems since Fiona hit our shores, and that's certainly one of them. And as I say, I'm not any kind of electrical generation expert, but, in the conversations that we've had extensively over the number of days with the utility, just it's the backbone of the generation system and how it works. It's not just as simple as going in and, say, building A, click on your power. It gets fed from a number of different avenues up the generation line, and it just takes some time to get there. And the damage that we have seen to the backbone of the system has been extensive here, and nothing we've ever seen before. So it's just a challenge that we've been dealing with from the beginning. And but look, 12 days is far too long. There's some things we're learning along the way here that we'll hope to remedy the next time. But it's been a big undertaking, and we have as many people as we need working to try to get it done as fast as we can. But that's just the reality we're facing here, and it's a tough one. Yeah,
and I certainly don't want to take away or minimize the logistical challenges that both your government and the power company face. But could you, for example, for the homes that could use them, and I understand that not all of them can, have purchased generators for them to get back online? Like, was there a way for you to intervene in order to minimize the fact that they had to spend so many days without power?
Yeah, like some of these buildings, they're all different, of course, but some of these are 60 and 70 unit buildings. So you don't just take a 7,000 volt generator and hook it up and run the whole system. Each one is designed on its own electrical circuit, so it would take a generator for each one of them. I think what the Minister of Social Development and Housing has been looking at is trying to build new capacity within those systems to have a larger generator, if possible, to help in situations like this. But I know we live in a world where everybody thinks we should have quick fixes. Everything is at your fingertips. But when you run into situations like this, there just isn't, unfortunately, any quick fixes to do this. And that's what we've been faced with. And we're trying to deal with it the best we can to help those the best we can that are there. But as I said, there's no shortage of challenges and problems here that we've been dealing with. And it's the reality of life on the ground here in P.E.I. It hasn't been easy days for anybody here.
And, the rest of Canada is thinking of everyone in your province, as you say that, most definitely. And like I said, I'm really not trying to take away from that, but there are people we hear from who are trying to understand how their grandparents or how their loved ones have gone so many days. And I do understand that it's not just like adding a generator here or there. But what I'm trying to ascertain on behalf of those people is whether your government did everything it could to make sure that that situation did not persist.
Yeah, Vashi, all I can tell anybody who's watching or anybody who's been asking is what I've been telling them is that, we haven't hardly left this building since Hurricane Fiona hit our shores. We've been trying hard to deal with the myriad of solutions or problems that are facing us with some solutions, and this has been, a difficult hand that we've been dealt. We're trying our best to play it. When you're the government in charge, you don't have the option to throw in the hand and wait for the next one. You got to play the one you have. And that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to shirk any responsibilities here. Could we do better? Yes. Can we always do better? Yes. Are we trying to do better? Yes. But that's just the reality that we're living in here right now. And we're trying to do the best we can for our loved ones. These are our family, our friends, our neighbors. And it's hard on the heart when you see stories like this. And we're trying to deal with them one at a time.
Okay, Premier, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time. And like I said, the rest of Canada is certainly thinking of everyone on in P.E.I. right now.
And I appreciate that very much, Vashi. The outreach we've had from across the country has been unbelievable. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks for your time. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.